Agabika-boo! What's up, people? Hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to the Respawn Recap. Hello, Nicholas.
Hey, Jake.
Are you ready to roll?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's get into it. It's been a crazy, crazy week. Here it is. And amidst all the Twitch accusations this past week, one of the bigger ones in terms of note and reach out there being very public, that being multiple instances and stories coming out around Fedmeister, now removed from the offline TV crew. And one of the bigger figures to talk about this was actually Pokimane taking to a video we had on the channel, along with many others now coming forward about manipulation, lies, potential sexual harassment as well. I've said this in a video on top of all of this. It's not one just individual severe case, but the escalation of multiple cases around just one figure, that being Fedmeister. So to hear Pokimane come out about this past week was, I hate to say it, but it's almost like we've heard it so much now. It just keeps on happening. Every time it happens, I feel like everyone begins to be less surprised by another figure being accused.
It happens and it happens, and it's so surprising to see, like, just the amount of stuff that can be going on behind the scenes. You know, we're watching these Twitch streamers every day. We think we know them because we see them every day, and then all this crap goes down behind the scenes. That's insane to me.
Yeah, and I think you bring to light a great point that a lot of people think. I think we also forget that all these accusations tossed out around these big figures, there are many people watching that's the person they watch.
Yeah.
And
like Fedmeister, that's my guy.
Like that to a lot of people out there. I don't know if you're saying
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, in general.
Good correction. But yes, to your point, someone out there that is their person to watch. That's their guy or girl to watch, and now being accused of these very serious things. These are kind of just the very dark times, and we'll see where we go from here. Just one of the bigger stories this past week was Fedmeister being removed from offline TV following several accusations against him. And I would say, hey, some lighthearted news out there. Finally, stuff we can banter back and forth about. That being both our boys, my boy Ninja, your boy XQC, going back and forth at each other. Actually, to start, it was Jessica, that being Ninja's wife. She kind of, I would say, started all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go into this. Obviously, can't go into all the detail if you guys have not seen the thread. It was actually a response to Dr. Lupo about charity streams. That was sparked by a clip by XQC. So whoever started this, it's kind of tough to say he or she started
multiple parties involved.
And I want to stick to this point by saying I'm not trying to say either one is right or wrong. I think both sides could have handled it better. But the craziest part is the fact that all of this was sparked from a simple Dr. Lupo correction tweet. One of the most, like, you know, very, very low-key guys out there, prompting responses from XQC as well as Jess, that being Ninja's wife. And then eventually it comes down to an XQC tweet, which is definitely taken off, where he refers to Jess as Sweetie. Says those Gucci bags won't pay for themselves. He is preparing to have a productive day, and also kind of insinuates and infers that she would not know what that is like.
I'm trying to figure out how to word some of this stuff. Man, mainly my issue with the entire subject was the sexism card.
Yeah,
I understand. You know, he called her Sweetie. He made it seem to undermine her. You know, her performance as, like, who she is as a person and her relation to Ninja, I guess. But when you're pulling that out, just for saying Sweetie, and you know, obviously the Gucci bags comment, that seems too
brash, like, too intense.
You know, like, with everything going on right now, especially, you know, I feel like you tossing that on is just kind of you doing it for the sake of doing it because of everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to...
It's a tough one, right? It's definitely tough to talk about.
This.
I would say of the entire argument, that was a key piece to focus in on. I'm not really sure where I fall on that. There are certainly two sides to be argued.
Absolutely.
When it comes time for why she pulled that card against the guy XQC for that tweet. We will keep you all posted on that, guys. The Ninja family feud versus XQC is probably not over yet. And a good old talking point in the past week as we see slowly some Valorant teams finalizing, guys. We already had a video on the channel about this where 100 Thieves have now entered alongside gigantic names, now finalizing the roster solely as we've seen many teams name their captains first. 100 Thieves captain was set to be and is Hiko, and coming from the Counter-Strike scene, tons of people thought because he was given reign and the command that it would likely be, as we've seen with majority of rosters out there, probably all Counter-Strike pros, if not a far majority of which we ended up seeing being actually 4 of the 5 named alongside Hiko, former PUBG pros. Certainly a very weird niche when it comes time for pros who have now joined the Valorant side of things. And shortly following, Hiko came out on stream to say that, I don't know if I can word it exactly the way he did, that 100 Thieves kind of picked it, like, and then later he clarified that he had knowledge of it. He was obviously made aware of it, but definitely two contradicting clips in a post afterwards, leading everyone to think, who exactly chose the 100 Thieves Valorant roster.
Yeah, and I've seen people saying things such as like they picked PUBG players in order to kind of dip their toes into Valorant because they're not entirely sure if it's going to be, you know, as successful as it's played out to be or as thought it to be. So, you know, I can kind of see where they're going for like the PUBG players in that case. However, if you're trying to build like a winning team, I mean, I'm not saying these people are bad players, obviously, but you know, it's like,
are you?
No, absolutely not.
No,
they would destroy me any day, I'm sure. But like, you know, if it's Hiko and it's probably, you know, one of the biggest Valorant personalities right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I would like to see him with that control and that power.
And I think you definitely make a fair point to them possibly trying to save funds. We have seen the complete polar opposite of that being T1. They're set to have soon here completed 3 full rosters. Obviously, you know, very polar opposite 100 Thieves, who, yeah, they might be trying to save a buck or two. And I guess we'll see in the way future, you know, which one pans out, which one doesn't. Yeah. All right, Nicky boy, you definitely stem mainly from, and when it comes time for if we touch on individual esports, the R6 side of things. So curious your perspective on this. This past week, we actually saw our first big meta change for Call of Duty, which might even be tied to Warzone, the battle royale of that same esport, and MP5 Nerf. Definitely a huge kind of wrench in the plans for a lot of Call of Duty pros out there who have not seen a major change all year long. And then until now, about a month and a half out from the biggest event, COD Champs, $4.6 million in the line, not to mention events coming up sooner than that, the homestand events, we see our first big change. And in my video about this, I kind of related it to a Fortnite change. Epic Games, you know, they've waited 4 or 5 days before a gigantic event to make these big changes. So what do you see in when it comes to maybe R6 or in general, what do you feel about a big change like this being so close to a big event?
Definitely. I'm pretty sure I have covered a topic on this before in Rainbow Six, actually. I think there was like some change like a week before, you know, some event. It was a while ago. However, I will say that I feel like with a month and a half remaining, I feel like if you're playing that game every day, you know, it's your profession, that is plenty of time to adjust to those changes. I think, like, especially in comparison to those other events where people had like a week to do it, or even less, you know, a month and a half for when you're playing that game at least like 8-12 hours a day, you can get used to it.
And I think that's been the general community census, but then you have the added on issues they've had with practice, which I didn't tell you about, obviously, because I couldn't go into too much detail, but they have had issues finding practice, finding scrims, the servers for doing so, and a slew of other issues, which makes adjusting to these probably take a bit more time. And not to mention other homestand events will happen as well. But either way, I think we'll leave you guys on this one. Definitely a lot of people out there curious, was this change made for Warzone and then had to be implemented also for the Call of Duty League? And how will that go going forward? And yes, the biggest story this past week, that's going to be the permanent ban supposedly of DrDisRespect on Twitch, obviously leaving all of us just stunned. The channel here, a quick thank you to all of you guys. We saw a gigantic leap in growth, and now just begins the speculation as to exactly what happened, Nick, because yes, we have seen, I mean, it's just kind of ironic. Let me lay it out very briefly for you, and obviously you know about this. Just the fact, in the same 8-day span, Mixer shuts down, Ninja and Shroud go free, and then all of a sudden we have all these unfortunate accusations around streamers on Twitch which are receiving their punishments, and then DrDisRespect out of nowhere gets banned
off the ring,
leaving everyone to try and spin and whirl all of these crazy theories we're seeing about what exactly is going on.
And we are still waiting.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most crazy part to me.
Whenever, like, we've had a lot of big stories, obviously, in the channel. We have never waited this long. Nothing leaked, nothing said. Those who know don't say a thing because it's that sensitive. And
which just makes me worried. Like, I don't... Yeah, like, what the heck could it be at this point? You know, we've thrown out so many, like, you know, thoughts about
the streaming
what
service,
the heck it could potentially be,
or potentially the old cheating accusations. I think a lot of the theories out there have been punched a hole right through.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of us are left hoping, is this a legal dispute? And I certainly hope it's between Twitch and Doc and not some serious accusation. But as of us recording this right now, guys, and I hope we all understand how big of a mystery this is and a rarity this is to see something this big go unspoken of. And I'm sure once we know, we'll be talking about it for a lot longer. I think all we can do right now is hope that it's not something too serious. And I guess we'll see what comes of it.
Hope for the best for Doc. That's about it.
And thank you all for watching. Nick, y'all, what you got to say?
What do you got to say?
No,
you never
say it. You said
goodbye.
See you guys next time.